Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to a live edition of Kiwanis Connects, coming to you from all points across the United States of US of A. I am out of the sun. I'm not in Baltimore. My equipment finally got back down to room temperature after last week. I mean, what a nutty day in Baltimore. Thank you for joining us today. Now, listen, everybody, this show is going to be a little different than the norm. Yes, you see my co-host, wait, wrong way, Doc Val, right over here. I know I went the wrong way out of habit. So she is here, there, and everywhere, but she's not here because she is not co-hosting today's show. That is where this guy down here, John Stiles, is going to be the fill-in co-host of the Kiwanis Connects show, relatively newly minted member of the K family. And so today, if you saw the post, today is all about Doc Val, the Kiwanis International Trustee candidate. Kiwanis Connects has done a great job in providing a platform really for all the candidates. And then, you know what? Hey, I'm going to say this very biased and unabashed. We've saved the best for last. So today, she's in the spotlight as the guest. She's not co-hosting. I don't know if we're going to do Doc Val wow moments. We may not even do bad dad jokes. That's how important this show is. But if there is a calling for some bad dad jokes, I do have the flashcards ready just in case. I don't want Andy to be disappointed. So we'll see. So
okay. Can I ask the first question?
Yeah, when we're ready to. So give me a second before we ask.
I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah, okay, very good. So, but more importantly, Doc Val, how are you doing this week?
It's been an amazing week because I was in 4 different cities in Southern California over the last weekend and raced back up here to start my week on Monday. And it's just been nonstop go. And I'm loving it.
Well, we are about, 14 days away from convention, give or take 15 days, depending upon time difference and time zones. So this is what they would say, we're coming around the clubhouse turn, and this is like the fourth quarter here where, messages have to be dealt. And good morning, Judy. Good morning, Kiwanis Literacy Club Foundation. They're all in the chat room already. So I'm really looking forward to chatting with you on this perspective. So, but before we do that, I do want to remind everybody that you can find us, of course, on Facebook all over the place. You can find us on YouTube, Sundays, dbtv.tv, and a special shout out welcome as today is the official first day of our new sponsor, Back 9 Great Bridge Chesapeake, for all your indoor golf simulation needs 24/7. Weather not an issue. We had their big grand opening yesterday that I was part of from 4 to 7 p.m. So thank you to Romany and John Puck out there in Chesapeake. They are also, more importantly, or just as important, members of the Chesapeake Kiwanis Club. So we are supporting fellow Kiwanians do what they do best, and that's providing fun. And of course, all of our other sponsors, we want to thank them for jumping on board and sharing this episode with us. All right. Listen, we got a lot to cover, so let's get right to it. I've asked John to fill in as our guest co-host today, so he and I will be firing off the shots. And so given that he's the newbie and he's got that new car smell, at least that's what we think it is, I'm going to allow John to start things right. Exactly. John, fire away. Let's get started. Let's put Doc Val in the spotlight. Have a go.
Okay. As a relatively newer member of Kiwanis, my first question to you, Doc Val, is what the heck is an international trustee? I mean, I know in my world, a trustee is someone who has a little more privileges than the other prisoners. So what does it mean in the Kiwanis world?
Prisoners?
When you put it like that, wow. It would be like, why do I want to do this? One of the things that I think is really important is keeping forefront what the job is all about, because there's a lot of responsibility that goes with it. And an international trustee is responsible for the governance of our Kiwanis International organization. And as I look at all the duties and responsibilities, I always have a little poster on my wall to remind me of the 7 different categories that we really need to focus in on. And the very first part is governance. And that's one of the reasons why I'm running, is because when you look at governance, you're talking about rules and policies that affect the clubs, because the clubs are the members. We want to make sure that every rule and policy is in place to benefit the clubs, not to benefit the organization or the the international office. And then the next one is fiduciary responsibility. Everybody pays dues. And when you pay dues, you want to know that your dues are going towards what's important. It's not going to overhead. It's not going to pet projects that aren't adding value to Kiwanis overall. You want to make sure that as an international trustee, that you're finding new ways to keep our dues in a reasonable level. And so that's another piece of the puzzle. The other is offering leadership and counseling. Each one of us is assigned multiple districts that we counsel. And so we partner with governors and help them so that they're successful. That's why you have to be a governor before you can run for international trustee, because you have to have been in those shoes and to walk the walk. And so hopefully we'll talk a little bit more about when I was governor and how that has prepared me to move forward. The next piece of it is that you're part of the fabric of Kiwanis, and there are multiple committees that we're assigned to so that we make sure that the operation of Kiwanis is happening in the background, from being a host committee for our international conventions to being a part of our student leadership programs like Key Club, Circle K, and those other organizations. And then the rest of it is making sure that our brand has value. And so all those pieces play into being an international trustee. And there's a lot of fun that goes in with it. So I'm not sure if fun is included as privilege, but I'm looking forward to it.
There's a comment there on the screen, a question actually from our good friend Judy out there in Bakersfield. And I haven't even gone through the details of your career and how you got started because we just jumped right in. Judy asks, you've had quite a career in Kiwanis. Why international trustee and why now?
Wow. Why now is where I'm going to start, is because we're at a point in Kiwanis where technology and innovation are moving so quickly, and Kiwanis needs to get on the ball and be able to move forward in a way that's cost effective and how we do things. And that's one of my strengths. If anybody has seen any information out there, they'll see that I have this moniker. It's called Smile. And right in the middle of my smile is the I for innovation. And so that's right now. They weren't ready for me a couple years ago because I'm kind of bleeding edge on technology. That's why we started this show, which has met a lot of needs. But that innovation is needed now, and I am a leader in the field, both in professionally and within Kiwanis for those kind of innovations. My background is in organizational development policy studies. I have a doctorate. I actually stayed in school way too long to make sure that I could help organizations develop their policy and states develop laws that protect children and our communities. Mm-hmm. And so I'm prepared to be able to move forward. I jump right in. I've got some bad advice along the way, and I've kind of put it in the rearview mirror. But someone said, in your first year when you're a trustee, and they were very positive about that, when you're a trustee, you just sit back and you wait till things come to you. And then in the second year, you can get really involved. And in the third year, you set yourself up so you can run for international vice president. Yeah, no, that's not how this operates.
Yeah, I don't see you doing that.
I was going to say, you can't sit still for 3 minutes, let alone for 3 years.
Exactly. And, when I started thinking about, do I even need or want to be an international trustee? It's not about the title, but it is about the fact that in order to really impact policy on the international level, you have to be on the board. You have to be working with a group of 12, 14, 15 people to craft the language and be able to move forward ideas that are necessary. Being a person as an individual, working within our district, we can spotlight things, but it's the international trustees that make it happen and work really closely with our staff to make a difference.
I want to go back to, I want to share with the audience who may not know, and I'm sure it's a relatively small percentage, but you were introduced to Kiwanis as a volunteer in 2001, and then in about 9 years later, you said, you know what, back with this volunteer stuff, I'm going to jump in with both feet, and you became a member of the Marina Club there in Calneva. What was it about Kiwanis back then that the light bulb went on for you and said, this is the organization that I want to be part of all these 25 years so far?
Someone else turned a light on for me.
Okay.
And part of that was because I've been a volunteer all my whole life, from itty bitty being a Girl Scout and volunteering and doing all those things. My mom used to say that I not only would give the shirt off my back, I would size them so that I could go shopping and get them more clothes. I believe that doing service is key to who you are. So when I started working at CSU Monterey Bay as a director of admissions and records, one of the requirements was that you do service in the community. And so I joined multiple organizations. I became a leader in several of them, including international training for an amazing organization called Seroptimus International. But my time was spent being active with a local club in Kiwanis, but they were all male. So they never invited me. I would show up, I'd help out. And I started that in 2001. And then Sylvester Neal, international president, was doing a tour with our governor here in California. And one of my staff members was going to be president of the Marina Kiwanis Club. So she invited me to buy a table and
Right
support her. You know me, I jumped right
Yep.
in. I was busy doing things, helping set up stuff, meet and greet. Didn't know why I was doing that, just do it. So Sylvester came up to me and he said, "How long have you been a Kiwanian?" And I looked at him and I said, "I'm not." And he
Oh,
said,
no.
"You will be when you leave here." And Sylvester put the lieutenant governor over, and I remember Donna Woodruff, absolutely amazing woman, brought an application out from her car. I filled it out. And Sylvester says, "Well, wait a minute. How much does it cost to be in your club?"
Right.
And she told me it was at that point $110. And he says, "You need to write a check for $110, lady." So I left there as a penned Kiwanian in the Marina Kiwanis Club in 2010, and I've never looked back. It's been the best decision I've ever made.
Kiwanis Literacy Club Foundation put a comment in there and a question, but I'm going to ask you to hold off on answering that part. Wanted to thank you for being the godmother of not just Kiwanis Literacy Club of Southern California, but also other literacy clubs and many other clubs. The question is, what are you planning next? That's the part I want you to hold off on, because I know we're going to get to something like that in a little bit, and I don't want to kind of short circuit the process. I want to kind of go back to the beginning, because when you run for a position, you obviously, any position, no matter what it is, you usually have to have a direction and an idea of what you want to accomplish when you are elected. And for those who've watched this show for the last 3 years, there's one thing that we've done significantly well here that Val has really spearheaded to a level that is awe-inspiring, and that is connecting people with either needs or ideas or concepts or partnerships. And so the word connecting and connections is really vital. So let's talk about that before we go into break, Val. Talk about how connections, making those connections, is a vital part of your campaign for international trustee.
Well, I've used that word over and over again, and many people look at me and go, "Wow, she's a one-trick pony." But reality is, when you connect great ideas and great people together, you can only get better. And so that was the premise behind this show, was there are so many people out in the world that have no idea what we do, but individually they're doing amazing things. I look at some of the guests that we brought on, including the mamas, and they're doing all their things. They're now joining a Kiwanis club, but as a small 501c3, they can only do this much. But when you join in with Kiwanians who have the same passion, it grows this much and becomes global. And so there's that connectivity that way. The other piece is that Kiwanis has become my second family. And I can say that I belong to a number of organizations, but I am a lifetime member of Kiwanis International, because I know this is where I belong. I belong with like-minded people who aren't political, who aren't religious, who really want to make a difference for kids in their community. It's not just buzzwords. It's not just motto. Um, it's connecting people together to do great things. That's why I do single focus clubs. And it's not because I think it's sexy to have a literacy club or it's sexy to do X. It is because these clubs focus in on the Kiwanis goodness that is necessary to help kids in our community.
Absolutely. I think that's very important to make those connections. All right, with that, we're going to step aside for our first break. Why? Because the clock says so, and we have sponsors that demand time to be heard. So we have a lot to cover with Val. I'm really excited about today's show to be able to grill her like Geraldo Rivera. Oh, shit, I just dated myself. Anyway, you're watching Kiwanis Connects. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Imagine being able to golf no matter the weather or time of day. Well, now you can at Back 9 Great Bridge in Chesapeake. Grab your clubs and swing by for the next level of golf. Back 9 is open 24/7, play on your own schedule, get pro-level swing data, and much more. Try St. Andrews, then Pebble Beach to test your skills. It's also a great way to start playing golf without the distractions, pressure, or cost of playing 18 holes outside. Back 9 offers individual and corporate memberships to fit your needs. Back 9 is now open at 500 South Battlefield Boulevard in Chesapeake. Visit our website for more information. Level up your game without stepping on the course with Back 9.
Sometimes I'd like to smack old age right in the kisser. Ow!
I always get the best parking spot.
I think she needs a little more help.
Monday?
What I really need is a boyfriend that can drive at night.
I can make a fashion statement out of anything.
I will be fabulous.
I have a little crush on my pharmacist.
With Comfort Care at your side, you can live your best life possible. We know families can't be there 24/7, which is why we can help with as much or as little home care as you need. From medication reminders and meal prep to everyday chores and errands, so you can live in your own home on your terms.
I wouldn't let aging stop me from being me.
Call Comfort Care now and let us create your personalized care plan and find the perfect caregiver match.
Can you show that number again? She was texting.
Together with Comfort Care, you can both live your best life possible.
All right, welcome back to Kiwanis Connects. Aaron Phillips, John Stiles in Vegas, sitting in for the show co-host, Doc Val. Today on our show, our special guest is Doc Val, Kiwanis International Trustee candidate, up for election in about 3 weeks' time in Manila. And we were just kind of talking about the word of connection and why that's important as part of her platform. So with all of that, John, I'm going to turn it over to you to set up the next volley of questions for our candidate in the hot seat. Take it away.
Okay, we're going to ask you some more questions, so here we go. From my experience with you, Val, and since we met and we started doing Kiwanis Connects together, your passion for Kiwanis has always been so obvious it smacks you upside the head when you walk in the room. How have you been able to maintain that level of enthusiasm for what you're doing and what Kiwanis does?
It's just ingrained in who I am, and part of that is I have always wanted to have children, and I did a number of things early on in my life so that I could potentially adopt, or I could go through a number of things. But when I joined Kiwanis, I realized there are millions of kiddos that I can help impact and change their lives and for the better. And I didn't have to do it personally, but if I modeled what was going on, I found some great people to get and put them together that they could really do the magic that's necessary. And so I will drive up to 80,000 miles in a year if people ask me to show up. And the reason is because I retired to do this. I retired to be a full-time Kiwanian volunteer because my skills can help someone else do what they do. Valerie alone can do 100 hours of service in any given time. But if I can find 15, 25, 40 people who are each doing 100 hours of service, wow, that's what keeps me going, keeps me motivated.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was just looking at the notes for today's show, and you obviously you say you're busy, but to sit there and calculate that we have had on this show since its inception in 2022 over 5 million views of our show. Were you up late one night just sitting there counting all the shows? 5 million views of this show over the years that we've done that. That's incredible. But speaking of
Aaron, it's the innovation and technology. Our friend Doug Chadwick taught me about Chat GPT, his brother.
Yeah.
And actually, I had handwritten out show by show how many views we had. Okay. And then I scanned it and it added it all together. And I was like, wow.
But it still took a lot of time to go through all the shows to write down just the view numbers. And that's crazy. But let's talk about the importance of those connections. You kind of alluded to it in your explanation of the connection, but how those connections are important to communities, right? Communities start small within the community that a club services, but the reality is we always talk about Kiwanis community on the much larger level. And this is a fascinating stat that since 2015, we're talking 11 years, right? My math is still good. You've started over 70 new clubs, right? Is that number right? Started, right? 70 clubs over 11 years. That's about 6.7 clubs per year. I don't know that I know 70 friends over 62 years that I'm on this planet, for crying out loud. But one of the unique things about some of those clubs, and you touched on this early, is the specialized type of clubs. Of course, with the Special Games Club, the Kiwanis Literacy Clubs, the new club there in Virginia, the Mental Health Cares Club of Virginia, in Las Vegas, the V. So what was the shift in your mind from the traditional club membership to the specialized club that now is part of your equation of new club building?
Well, it's about modernizing Kiwanis. And modernizing Kiwanis means going back to some traditions. In the old days, we used to start clubs because there was a need in the community and something very, very specific. And so when you look at pre-COVID, most of the Kiwanis clubs that are out there, they're busy 52 weeks out of the year. Mm-hmm. They're doing large-scale projects, small-scale projects, but they're very, very diverse within their community. And so if they drop just one of those projects, the community feels it. And so I shine a light on like Lakeside in San Diego area that literally will do 2 and 3 service projects in a weekend. They've become so essential, but many of the members are just so busy that they don't get to focus in on their passion. And so going in, I thought, when we're starting a brand new club, what's the biggest need and what's the biggest passion that people have, and bring them together. And that helps you connect to Kiwanis in a long-term range. And it doesn't mean that that's where you get stuck and stay. It just means that you focus in on literacy. You make sure that every child in your community has a brand new book every month. That's the Salinas Literacy Club. They have adopted all first graders in all of Salinas, California. Absolutely huge. They brought in Taylor Farms, which is one of our major contractors in the ag world, because with Taylor Farms, literacy is so important. And so they've added in all of this amazing resources. And when you go single focus, you get outside resources. And as one of my buddies, Gary Jander, says, other people's money makes the world go round. And when you can do a single focus club, you have the opportunity to raise funds that normally would not come to Kiwanis. It's that simple. And with like the STAR Club, which is sex trafficking awareness and resources, our schools are mandated to teach kids about how to be safe online and how to take care of themselves, but there's no funding behind it. And so when we put together the STAR Club, we were able to tap into the FBI and into Thorn International and to 3 Strands, which are conglomerates from international fame, and they have helped with resources that really will make an impact globally. But if we were a traditional Kiwanis club, we're going to be really, really busy with a key club and a builders club, and you can't get that boom.
Yeah, the specialized club really takes that community needs analysis and
Mhm.
really hones down on that bullseye right in the middle of the target of even more specific need within that community. So I think the sex trafficking club that you just referenced when we got involved with helping to promote that a couple of years ago, that was really the first time for me hearing about a specialized Kiwanis club being formed. So it really is a great avenue to expand Kiwanis and really hone down the need. John, I'm going to turn it to you for a question, sir.
4 questions or for a question?
FOR, FOR, FORE. I'm in a golfing state of mind. FORE.
Well, if you're going to be in a golfing state of mind, you can do that indoors now.
That's right, regardless of weather.
So, what is a typical day like in International Trustees Day? I mean, as far as it relates to Kiwanis.
Well, my hope is that the areas that I'll be assigned to is that I'll have an assignment with Eastern Caribbean and Canada, that I'll have one of the amazing states somewhere, Montana or Texas or Oklahoma, and then also a country in ASPAC or Asia Pacific. And so what my day will start off with is at 5:30 in the morning, attending a division council meeting or talking with the governor in Eastern Canada and Caribbean. And that's a 5:30 thing because of the time difference. And then being able to do what I do, my work, because I'm not going to stop serving within my clubs and communities. I belong to a lot of clubs, so I need to get my service hours in. And then with being able to attend something within a general range of 5 p.m. And then 9 p.m. I'm attending something that's happening in Asia Pacific because of the different time zones. And that means that I book in my day with Kiwanis and being able to do counseling while also doing service. The reality is I'm retired, so I can do that. But the average Kiwanian, it doesn't take a lot of effort to do what we do on the international level. But I think that I always do that little bit of extra, which is making sure that I make myself available.
Well, it's what you just said before you said that last statement. To me, it's a matter of how much you want to do in the role that you are in. Okay, so people can, like I said, can sit back and wait for stuff to come, or you can just not be a bull in a china shop, but do what you do to provide the support that the position calls for. And I think that always varies. It's like what you get out of it is what you put into it. And I think that says a lot for the position. Judy says, as your friend, I want to ask this question. You do such a good job of taking care of all of us. How will you take care of yourself when you are a trustee, and how will you find balance? I think that's a great question, because if you don't find balance, you get burned out. You get burned out, you can't do your job. So that's a great question. Thank you, Judy.
Thank you, Judy. And one of the things that I'm always struggling with is how to take time out for myself. And I know that my whole team keeps telling me sleep, sleep, sleep. And I get nervous because I'm like, I'm missing something. I have the same thing my grandson has, which is fear of missing out. And so part of the balance that I'm looking forward to with being international trustee is first off, trusting my home clubs that they'll ask me to be involved, but they won't ask me to lead all the things that I do. I belong to 12 clubs across the globe. And so I lead in each one of those clubs on a different level. And so knowing that I need to be a member and step back and be a part of that will add a little bit of security for me. My home club has already started doing some of those things. And it's weird to be just a member. But I like it. And then the other part, Judy, is because of the technology, I won't be flying around the globe on a regular basis. I will actually make sure that I show up when people really want me to be there, not just showing up when there are 4 or 5 people present, because that's something that you can do on Zoom. That's something that you can do on the phone, and so I think my mileage is going to go down. State Farm is not going to make as much money out of me. That's for
No,
sure.
no, but Andy will be very happy.
Oh,
I,
he's thrilled.
I want to jump in here because I think that was an interesting question that she asked. However, my observation has always been that you are not taking away from what you are or where you are to do what you do.
Yeah.
By doing what you do, that is who you are, and that is where you live, and that is taking care of yourself. I mean, I understand that I have the same problem with the station. It's not work. It's not something that's extra. It's something that this is what I want to do. This is what I enjoy. So I'm not missing anything. And I think that's the same. I think that's the same with you.
Oh, it so is. And one of the things that, if you've met me, then you know that I'm a hugger. I launch. I want to make that connect because my love language is touch. My love language is service. And so I'm that multi-bilingual in that. And no matter if I'm hugging my friend Sue, the governor in Taiwan, we may not speak the same language, but when we hug and we talk together, we just make that connection. Wow. And so I love traveling and going to places and doing presentations and interacting with people. The best experience I had as a Kiwanian, as a Kiwanis leader, was at an international convention where I did 3 sessions and I facilitated on membership and growth within your club. I facilitated on how to be a club coach. And but the thing that was amazing at the end, my very first session, I said that if anybody wants to ask me a question or anything, come on up and stand in line. I've left a little bit of extra time for you to do that. I got 300 hugs because most of the people that came and stood in line wanted just to do that hug. And each hug is important. And in Kiwanis, you get to do that. There's some organizations out there, we're only electronic. We do voting electronically. We meet electronically. We turn in our ballots, like my HOAs. I wouldn't hug anybody in my timeshare HOA. But in Kiwanis, it is okay to sit next to someone and have just a quiet conversation. And on my listening tour, that's been the one thing that people wanted to make sure that we brought back after COVID was that we met in person, we serve in person, and we figure out how to get together. And so my whole goal in life, not in life, but as a trustee, is I want to make sure that every single Kiwanis club can come to a Kiwanis International Convention and be able to afford to do so. We wouldn't need remote voting if it didn't cost a mint to get there. How do we do that? We partner with large-scale corporations who have a mission that we have. We partner with hospitals and medical centers that need Kiwanis to volunteer for them. We partner with our big financial institutions. I'm going to say it out loud. American Express, who gives out so much money, and Microsoft, and all those corporations that allow us to meet online and ask them to support us. Because if they set aside with Hawaiian Airlines, which is one of my favorites, that we get 2 flights per year, we get that. That's called partnership. That's really responsible. And I believe that I have the skills to do that. I'm not afraid of going to a top 10 corporation and saying, you invest in service, we invest in service, so please invest in us.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up the money, and it just brings up, I'm going to digress just a little bit because the last couple of years at Kiwanis conventions, dues is always a conversation, right? Membership is decreasing. Therefore, revenue is decreasing, but yet expenses go up, and et cetera, et cetera. So one of the responsibilities you touched on at the very beginning was fiduciary responsibility from the standpoint of KI. What are some of your things that you're going to keep an eye on, and you want to ensure that the fiduciary responsibility of our dues is being handled properly? And I'm going to segue that into membership growth in a second, but I want to talk about your guardianship from the money perspective as a trustee, and what your plans are to protect that money for the future use of Kiwanians.
Well, one of the things I think is so important is looking at the budgets and everything as they come out, not just from a 10,000 square level where you're told by the CFO, this is where our money is, this is what we're doing, but it's actually what I've done all the way through in being a Kiwanis leader is I scrutinize the budgets. If I know that, like we have Edward Jones out here in California that really helps with CNH. And I actually met with our financial manager. I was given permission to do so. I met with him and actually got a primer on our financial backing and realized what we could do and what we couldn't do. Because there's not a lot of rules in Kiwanis, but there's a lot of tradition. There's a lot of sacred cows that people just won't touch. And so it's important to look at that budget and talk with people and find out what's really important, what people value, and invest in that. And it's important to invest in ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We don't invest in ourselves. We give away a lot of what we do. We have something called Kiwanis Perk Spots. And I look at the bottom line in Kiwanis International to see how much money those corporations and businesses are giving us. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to do a shout out to HelloFresh. Almost every single key clubber in the world does pet toys and pet adoptions and reading to dogs. So HelloFresh. Pay for t-shirts for all of our 250,000 kiddos. They're a good partner. Don't just pay $10,000 a year and say we did good.
Right.
Invest in Kiwanians because we are your long-term folks. A trustee can help set the pace in doing that. Financial fiduciary, the whole financial circle. My goodness, our dues shouldn't ever have to go up again, because of all the folks that we have in Kiwanis. If you think about how much money is in the California, Nevada, Hawaii district, think about it.
Yeah.
We have clubs with foundations that have $2 and $3 million in their 501c3s. How did they get that? Well, the only way we're going to find out is by bringing those kinds of clubs together and saying, we need a think tank on how to apply the concepts that you're doing to Kiwanis. We give out scholarships on our foundation, International Children's Fund Foundation level, but they're only a percentage of what one club does in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be looking at our membership and our membership strengths, asking our different members, because they put down their occupations. What do we do with that data?
Sure.
Data Geek, who adds up all the numbers, says put together subcommittees that are part of what we do and get them involved.
Yeah, so I'm glad you kind of talked about the membership side. I want to step aside for our final break of the show because I want to come back around. Whether you're a club president, lieutenant governor, okay, there's always one thing that every administrative year is asked of each of those leaders, and that is, of course, increased membership. But we always tend to forget about previous members, right? Or clubs that are struggling. How do we bring them back to strength? That's also part of membership. We're going to talk about that on the other side of the break because I think that's very important to talk about a program that you started back in 2017, and the results of that has also helped with the numbers of Kiwanians. You're watching Kiwanis Connects. Don't go anywhere. A lot more with Doc Val, the candidate for international trustee, right after this.
Hey, everybody. Aaron Phillips here from the Kiwanis Connect show. Are you trying to recruit for new members? Do you have a huge event coming up that maybe is your biggest fundraiser of the year? But you need to do something different to let people know that it's happening. The same old gives you the same old routine and results. Well, we've got an idea for you. The Kiwanis Connects show offers the opportunity to have customized commercials created to help your club get your message out. And you know what? One of the extra wonderful points of this opportunity is we provide it as a fundraising opportunity. For every $50 donation for the commercial goes to the Rose Float Kiwanis Club. That's right. The very same Rose Float that we see on television every New Year's that represents Kiwanis International will now be supported by these Kiwanis Connects commercials. So, if you want more information and get involved, just drop us an email at kiwanisconnectsinfo@gmail.com. That's kiwanisconnectsinfo@gmail.com. Get your 30, 60, or 90-second customized commercial today, and let's help the Rose Float Kiwanis Club continue to plant its seeds for success.
Sometimes I'd like to smack old age right in the kisser. Ow!
I always get the best parking spot.
I think she needs a little more help.
Monday?
What I really need is a boyfriend that can drive at night.
I can make a fashion statement out of anything.
I will be fabulous.
I have a little crush on my pharmacist.
With Comfort Care at your side, you can live your best life possible. We know families can't be there 24/7, which is why we can help with as much or as little home care as you need. From medication reminders and meal prep to everyday chores and errands, so you can live in your own home on your terms.
I wouldn't let aging stop me from being me.
Call Comfort Care now and let us create your personalized care plan and find the perfect caregiver match.
Can you show that number again? She was texting.
Together with Comfort Care, you can both live your best life possible.
Imagine being able to golf no matter the weather or time of day. Well, now you can at Back 9 Great Bridge in Chesapeake. Grab your clubs and swing by for the next level of golf. Back 9 is open 24/7, play on your own schedule, get pro-level swing data, and much more. Try St. Andrews, then Pebble Beach to test your skills. It's also a great way to start playing golf without the distractions, pressure, or cost of playing 18 holes outside. Back 9 offers individual and corporate memberships to fit your needs. Back 9 is now open at 500 South Battlefield Boulevard in Chesapeake. Visit our website for more information. Level up your game without stepping on the course with Back 9.
All right, welcome back to Kiwanis Connects. Aaron Phillips here, special guest host. With me today is John JPEG Styles. Why? Because we have Doc Val, not the show co-host today. She's in the hot seat as a guest, our Kiwanis International trustee running in Manila in all of about 15 days from today. She will be, we'll all be casting votes for international trustee Doc Val. John, you were going to make a point, sir.
I was going to ask a question.
All right, go for it.
How do we vote?
Wow. And that's the big deal. You have to be present to vote. And so registration.
You have to be present. You have to be present in Manila.
In Manila. And so as a delegate, each club gets 2 delegates. And so it's actually in our bylaws that our international bylaws that all clubs are supposed to go to an international convention at least once every 2 years. And we're not seeing that right now. And in Manila, there are less than 350 delegates for Western Canada and domestic United States. And so those folks are going to be the ones that get to choose the international trustees. And one of the things that we don't talk about very often is that because of the way our rules are set up, you can't just vote for me. You have to vote for 3 candidates because there are 3 slots available. And so that's why we brought on other candidates to come talk to us about what's going on. And I wanted to make sure that I sat as a supporter of each and every one of them that chose to come on the show, because you have to vote for 3. Otherwise, your ballot is invalid.
So
can they vote for you 3 times? Would that count?
No.
Is that one of the first things that you're going to change as a member who has responsibilities that can't just up and go to, I mean, if the convention's here, I could probably make it. But isn't that kind of like taxation without representation?
Actually, that's been a part of the whole Kiwanis deal, is that when you become a club, that you make a commitment as a club to support at least one person going to international convention and voting.
Okay.
That's part of the bylaws of what we set up. And I think that that's part of the fiduciary responsibility of the board of trustees, is as they're picking sites in the future, they need to make sure that they're financially reachable, even though we'll have inflation and all those factors. But we need to not be renting out large scale 30,000 person convention centers where it costs so much to get there, it costs so much to stay there, and it costs a ton of money from your individual club budgets, because not every budget has $3,500 to be able to send an individual to an international convention. That's why I've said that I believe that we need to partner in a different way to make it financially possible. And I think that if we are going to move forward with remote voting, if that were to ever be a part of the process, I think the rules need to be very, very clear. I am one of those people that has seen it work where it's not a free opportunity to sit at home in your bunny slippers to be a part of the direction and governance, but you have to be interactive and do what you need to do. And John, you're going to have a chance to go and vote next year. We're in Dallas, which is skipping a jump and a $75 flight. And then it's in Las Vegas.
Okay, so let me follow that up with basically the system is set up so that each club selects delegates to attend the convention. Those delegates are supposed to represent our feeling as a club as to who should be an international trustee.
Absolutely. That is exactly how it's set up. It's set up at the international level that way. It's set up at the district level that way. And we want to make sure that there's representation across the board. That's why there's only 2 delegates per club. So that someone in Missouri, Arkansas has the opportunity as much as to be represented as a club in New York. And so one of the things that I find so valuable is the education part of going to an international conference. I have met so many amazing people that I have connected with. That's why I helped start a club in the Philippine Luzon district, because I met a whole contingent of people from the Philippines dozens of years ago. And wow, we realized that there are 3 orphanages that needed Kiwanis support. And I had a resource with the Kiwanis Literacy Club, and we've been supplying books to those orphanages, and we're going to be supplying more books to those orphanages at Kiwanis International Convention in Manila. So I'm talking a lot, and I see that there are a couple comments, and so I'm turning into a host again.
Yeah, that's okay. I want you to share your thoughts. So this is Judy's comment. I wanted John to put it up. There's no question in there, but it's her feelings about how you've inspired her in the short time that you guys have officially worked together, known each other. She says you embody all that Kiwanis is about: relationships. Working from relationships, you get new members, you serve well, and you lead well. You do all of that. Thank you, Judy. I want to kind of go back to what I talked about before the break. We talk about membership, right? Mm-hmm. As someone who's been in clubs, who's left clubs, who has sat dormant for a while because of situations, given my resume, not one club at any real point in time ever came back to me and said, hey, are you alive? What happened? Why'd you leave? Why'd you do blah, blah, blah? We're talking about revitalization. That's always something that every person within Kiwanis is tasked with as part of building Kiwanis and bringing in membership. In 2017, though, you created a program that allowed struggling clubs to re-energize, retool, and remember. You've re-strengthened 24 clubs that are still going strong today. Why do Kiwanis clubs forget about members that resign for one reason or another? Why do we not go approach members that were part of other clubs, maybe in other districts that somehow moved to the area? Why is that an area we forget? And what can you do to take your program and make it an international program for other clubs to re-strengthen by revitalizing what is already there instead of building a new club where there was a club that is struggling?
That was part of I was the formula chair for the very last year of the Kiwanis International Formula for California, Nevada, and Hawaii. And we had a really huge goal of membership growth. And I believe that in any organization, it's a three-pronged stool. It's not just building brand new. It's also making sure that you have healthy clubs that people want to be a part of. And then the other part is that we have had so many people become attracted to Kiwanis. And then if you pull the former member list, the list is longer than the number of people that have been in Kiwanis in the past 10 years. And so it was looking at all that data and saying, okay, in my world, opening a club when you have a great team is really, really straightforward. You can bring a club to any community. Everybody needs Kiwanis. But when you're talking about all of those former members, not all of them are deceased. And that was what people used what I was originally told is a lot of them die. And it was like, no, a lot of them don't die. A lot of them, they'll move and no one ever follows up with them. They will become disenchanted with the current club that they're in, or their life changes for a little while. And so I helped build something. At that point, it was called Kiwanis. It was intervention plan. So looking at clubs that used to be healthy, 25, 30, 40, and they're down below 15 members, they're down below 10, and going, they already know they're hurting. And so what do we offer to them to support them? And the very first step in that is doing an analysis of their former members and sending out questionnaires and making phone calls. That's the toughest one. Calling a person and saying, why did you leave the Kiwanis Club? What was going on? And you just need to make 5 or 6 of those and you'll see a trend, and be able to work with the club and let them know what's going on. And I would say 1 in 5 of those former members that is at an age that they still want to give, they come back. And that is an amazing way to keep growing your club. And it's now turned into club revitalization. Our amazing chair of membership here in Cal Neva said, take it away. And I worked with George Lang and Bob Pryor and now Judy and a number of other folks, where we are looking at these clubs. We put together a whole 5-step process, starting with service. And so that smile, starting with service and really looking at what your key service projects are, what your strengths are, and what service projects need to go. And then we look at the membership, the composition of membership that's in your club. We get everybody together, we get their opinions and talk about it, make sure they're healthy. And then we look at ways to innovate within that club and do something special that doesn't currently exist in the community that that club is in. And then we focus in on how the leadership can reach out both to former members and to future members in their community and get a couple of leaders within the community to join their club. And then we do the educational part. It's helping them figure out how to do this on their own once we're no longer there with them. And when you do all of those pieces, you bring back members, clubs thrive because it builds in a succession plan. If you guys want to know more, I am doing a smile hour, not a happy hour. Been told, don't know more happy hours, but 5:30 on Monday afternoons, I will, not specific time, you can Zoom in and we'll make the Zoom available and talk about these type of things that all are embodied in Smile, because it's huge. It is absolutely huge. And, I belong to 12 clubs, and there are some things that I love about each and every one of those clubs, because Kiwanis clubs, although we all fly the same banner, we wear our K-pen, we have those things in common. The culture in each one of the clubs that I belong to is amazing. I want to do more service because of their strengths. There's some of them, I joined them because I'm a club opener and I needed to be a club coach. And so in the old days, being a club coach meant being an active member within that club for 2 years, so that you could go into the electronic system with the secretary. You could help form membership plans within the database. And so I joined the clubs and I fell in love and I stayed. And I pay full dues in each and every one of those clubs, except for my home club because I'm a life member for Kiwanis International in my home club.
Yep.
But it's one of those wows.
So we're down to about 4 minutes. Real briefly, our good friend Steve Nagel mentions that what they do is they make their president-elect reach out to all past members and invite them to visit a meeting with no pressure to become a member again. I think that's a great idea to get your president-elect involved. All right, real quickly, regarding the delegates, there's 3 words to the definition that I want to add to that, and that is clubs in good standing.
Yes.
Are allowed to have their delegates at a convention. Those 3 words are vital. All right. There was a question that came up early, 2 questions that came up earlier. I'd like you to address them. And then the rest after that, whatever you want to say to close out the show, it is all yours. So, area of coverage. You mentioned areas as examples that as a trustee, blah, blah, blah. How is a trustee assigned their area?
That's all up to the Kiwanis International president and the leadership, going where the strengths are of the current trustees that will be rolling into their next year. And so they're all assigned different locations. And then at the election, there are 3 sets of areas that are left for the newbies. And so the person in first place, I think, gets their best choice talking with our international president, who's going to be Hope Marks. Yeah. And then it's second and third. Okay. And so I've been putting out in the positive energy and vibes that I will be a counselor and coach anywhere in the world. And that's because I love Kiwanis, and I want to learn more about places and Kiwanians that I haven't met yet.
I want you to answer this last question that was asked early as you wrap up and give your final salvo. What's next? Very simple. That was the question that came in at the tail end of that comment early on. What's next for you? Tie that answer into whatever comment you want to make in the next 2 minutes before we sign off. It's all yours.
If you know me, you know me. I'm really I try to be as humble a human being as humanly possible. And so what's next for me is doing everything I possibly can so that people know that voting for me is not just a one-time deal and then I just kind of disappear, but that I can continue to contribute to Kiwanis in any way humanly possible. And knowing who asked the question, the what's next is I will serve in Kiwanis in any and every capacity as long as I am welcome and as long as I can help contribute. If I ever become a person that is a naysayer or says, oh, we used to do that, that's how we do it. I want someone to pull the hook and say, Val, you're no longer the leader that we need, because a leader in Kiwanis needs to be innovative. They need to be flexible. They need to be responsive, and they need to listen. And I believe I bring all those skills to the table. And I look forward to being collaborative with the other trustees. Some of my closest Kiwanis buddies are part of the executive board, and some of my mentors are part of the leadership team. And so none of them can second me because they are so amazing. So I look forward to being collaborative with an Amy Zimmerman. I look forward to sitting side by side with Tim Shepard to talk more about how we can make sure that every child is safe. Being able to work with those folks that are on there and following the direction and lead of Hope Marks and then Kathy Sturmansky and then whomever from Asia Pacific wins the Vice President International. Those 3 will be my international presidents. So
right on. Talk about a collaborative effort. Talk about connecting, right? Gotta love it. All right. We are out of time, literally and figuratively. I want to thank our guest today, Dr. Valerie Brown Klingelhofer. She is the international trustee candidate for Kiwanis International. I have it on good authority that my co-host Doc Val will be back on the show next Friday. By the way, are we doing a show when you're in Manila?
Yes, we are.
All right, there you go. So we need to mark that on the calendar, John, that we're going to have to calculate time zones and internet charges and all sorts of stuff. So, all right, everybody. John, any closing thoughts as we say goodbye? John, take yourself off mute, John. Take yourself off mute, John. Right? Yeah, exactly. I got you.
I said I'm gathering my thoughts.
Okay, well, gather them quickly.
Okay. Val, and you are one of the reasons that I am a member of Kiwanis. You did not let me weasel out. And I just want to thank you for that.
There you have it.
And as my friend Dave Arnold says, I have this habit, which is called voluntold, not voluntary, but voluntold, because I see so much in people like you, John, and I know that Kiwanis is a better organization because of you. And when I reach out and ask people to join Kiwanis, I don't ask everybody. I've sat in planes by people I'm going, not a good Kiwanian material. And then I've sat in planes where I have literally recruited 4 or 5 people in one flight where it's like, they are special. They offer so much. And I want to make sure that kids in our communities have the opportunity to have a Kiwanian in their life. I am a Kiwanian because someone asked me. I'm a Kiwanis leader because someone believed that I could lead. And I want to be international trustee because I want to make it possible that when we build a key club, when we build a builders club, and we build a Circle K or an action club, that they stay in the Kiwanis family forever. And that they know that it's not an option to change. It isn't.
I'm sorry, and that's the real future of Kiwanis is once we get them in at those early stages, we need to nourish those seeds and allow them to flourish over the years as they progress in the K family. Val, I hate to do this to you, as most co-hosts do to their guests, but we are out of time. Just a couple of quick programming notes. Tomorrow, 11 a.m., Aaron's Hour. My guest is Brad Breckenridge. He is the business development manager for a company here in town called IV Nutrition, where if your body has some aches and pains and you just don't know why, he's got some solutions for you. Then at 12:30, the voice of 757, Nikki Lozano, author of Grit and Grind, a veteran's story to mental health recovery. She will be on the TV show. And then if you're not in the local area, don't worry. Early next week, it'll be up on the Facebook page for you to watch. With that, Val, it was kind of cool, kind of switching the seat with you a little bit. I hope we covered everything that you wanted to. Listen, everybody, you know what to do. You know my feelings. It's already out there on Facebook. As Mr. Rourke would say, smiles, everybody. Smiles. With that, be kind to everybody. Why? We're all we have. This show is done.